Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to this meeting. I'm delighted to see that many of my colleagues from across India have made time and across the world have made time to come to this event, to this discussion. I will begin with a short introduction to on Showpriya, and then we'll go to the questions. So Showpriya, as Neeta mentioned, has about 20 years, more than 20 years experience in publishing. She joined Orient Longman in Chennai in 1998 as an assistant editor. And then in 2007, I think she moved to Delhi to join Penguin as the senior commissioning editor. And after about many years, 7, 8 years in Penguin, in 2015, she joined Jaggernaut as an executive editor. And now she has taken a break from publishing for the last couple of years. And she is now the director of Sahapedia. So during her years in Penguin, she has commissioned some very important books. Wendy Doniger's The Hindus and Perumal Murugan's One Part Woman. So you can see, she gets a publishing house in a lot of trouble with the commissioning the book she commissions. A lot of controversies around those books, both The Hindu or Wendy Doniger and Perumal Murugan's One Part Woman put Penguin on a spot for quite some years. And then Bohemia means Gold Days, which later on went on to win many awards. Similarly, Mira's The Hangwoman, which was again a much acclaimed novel. And The Mirror of Beauty by Rahman Farooqi. And she commissioned a brilliant translator of Sangam poetry from Tamil, M.L. Tangapa's selection of Sangam poetry translation, which was very acclaimed. The title is Love Stands Alone. So these are some of the books that she has, commissioned into English. So can we go to the discussion now? Are we ready? Yeah. So I think I'll start with the question, so Priya, which is on everybody's mind. When are you going to come back to publishing?
I have no idea, Kanin. Soon, I hope. But it doesn't look like there are very many jobs in
especially, right now, that is true.
Yeah.
But there are not many editors who can read a work in Tamil and decide. So I think more than others, I look forward to you coming back into publishing.
Thank you.
Okay, so then let's go to the questions. So now many Indian language publishers, they are now interested to either improve the rights trade or get introduced into rights trade and try to sell some rights. And their main focus, of course, is selling rights to English, which might then open up all the other Indian language markets as well. So if they are small publishers, they might have a backlist of about a dozen books, and others might have a backlist of about a few thousand. So how does one go about selecting the books that might travel to other languages of all the books they are on their backlist or the new books they are published? How should they select the titles which they should create a pitch for and then send to publisher? What would be your guidance there?
So the selection, well, you'll have to think about the selection in two different ways. If you're selling it to English publishers within India, then you look at a certain set of points. And if you're selling it abroad, then your criteria differs completely, actually. For instance, if you're selling it internationally, then one of the easy things to do is actually look at what's getting published, get a sense of that, and then select from your list whatever it is that's similar to what's getting published. Not exactly, but sort of broadly you can sense the area. For instance, I think in the last 2 years or so, I'm seeing a lot of slim Japanese Korean novels, which are slightly surreal, slightly kind of some supernatural element to it, and from Latin America and South America. So maybe in that sense, one of the things that you can easily look at is size and, maybe those kind of stories. But within India, it seems a much broader selection. For instance, you can sell big, ambitious novels for sure. I think it helps if it's more or less contemporary, maybe not older than the last 10, 15 years right now. Unless the publisher has a classics list, it doesn't make sense to really pull out books that were published, say 15, 20 years ago, or even longer than that, from back in the past, and pitch it. So maybe closer to the time that we are in when we are doing the pitch, that would help. And in India, again, if you're selling abroad, I would say maybe not so much what's set in rural India. I don't really see too much of it selling. I think the exception is Murugan and his novels, but not really anything else. But in India, I think you can sell both kinds. I mean, both from urban and rural areas. So I think if you're selling in India, maybe time is a criterion to look at time, the year of publication. Um, but otherwise, I think it looks like an open field. This is broadly what I would say, Kannan, but so that's one thing. And I think you just need to read and look at what's getting published so that you have a sense of what is it that publishers are looking at.
So
And
the first, yeah. So the first thing is that you advise them to look at only novels, not non-fiction, poetry. So novels have the best chance of getting published in translation
the best chance, yes.
among
Unfortunately,
all
yes.
genres.
Yeah.
The chance, yeah, the novel, and then not so much non-fiction, and poetry, I think, is very difficult. Short stories are possibility in India.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. But I think it helps.
And
Short
memoirs.
story, short stories, again, not too much, in the sense that I think it helps if the author is somewhat well known, if there's some kind of thematic coherence that links the short story collection. Say if it's about a place, or if it's about a particular activity or theme, or maybe they're linked stories. I think it helps if you can sell the short story collection. You need to be able to pitch it. That works. Poetry, hardly, right? I cannot remember the last time I read poetry in translation that is contemporary poetry. There is a little bit, but they tend to be more modern classics rather than very contemporary poets.
Right. Memoirs.
Memoirs, I think, yes. It looks like it's beginning to be published, right? You do get them here and there
Yeah,
now.
Nalini Jamila came into English. Nalini Jamila from Malayalam. From Malayalam, Nalini Jamila came, and Perumal Murugan's memoir of his mother is now published. So novels and some memoirs and a bit of short stories, and not so much focus on non-fiction and poetry. So that would be the general idea of things.
Broadly,
So
yes.
why do you think non-fiction? Oh, yeah. So why do you think non-fiction is not picked up from the Indian languages to English? I mean, they are picked up, but not so much.
Occasionally they are picked up, but not really. You know what, Karan, I'm not sure if I can answer this, because I actually don't know what's getting published as nonfiction in
Okay.
contemporary Indian languages. You read a few humorous accounts here and there. I'm assuming that there will actually be a market for political biographies or political memoirs, because there's really a dearth of them, and you don't have people who can write those things quickly and well, and will have the depth of understanding that someone in Tamil might be able to write about Karnanidhi, or in Bengali might be able to write about Mamta. So there is that. I think that's an untapped area, actually.
I remember that you commissioned a book. You commissioned the memoir of on Veerappan. When you published a book of which was from Kannada to English, a book on Veerappan.
Yeah, that was not on Veerappan. I mean, he's a character in it.
Who were kidnapped by him.
Yeah. That was more, I think, a humorous account of being kidnapped by
Okay.
Veerappan rather than on Veerappan. So
being captured by Veerappan and spending some time with it.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when you receive a pitch as an editor, what would you like to see in that pitch? Or in other terms, how does a publisher get a good pitch for the book? What should be there in the pitch?
One of the things that I've noticed is you should not pitch too many titles to an editor, or when you're actually carrying your list and you want to sell some of the rights for some of the titles in your list, I think it's better if you're very focused and actually invest energy in, say, not more than about 3 titles or so. So you're fully seized of what the titles are about. You completely believe in them, and then you're able to pitch them. It helps to be very focused about how you do your pitching, not do too much of it, and also pair the right pitch to the right editor or the right publishing house. Of course, with Indian publishing, everyone publishes everything. But even within that, for instance, Jaipriya, Kannan, the two of you do know a number of editors. You have a sense of what editors are interested in. That really helps getting to know them a little bit, getting to know what they've published, and getting to know what actually interests them. And if it suits the house, that really helps. When you really when you receive a pitch, you really want a succinct, clear kind of pitch that gives you an idea of, that hooks you and also gives you a sense of what the strength of this book would be and why you would want to buy it for your publishing imprint. um, yeah, I mean, that's basic.
Okay. One thing I've noticed is that in the last 10 to 15 years, the number of titles that are translated from Indian languages to English has quite steeply gone up within India. And so why do you think that has happened? What have been the catalyst for this change, this more interest in Indian languages?
This is completely my own understanding of the scene. I might be wrong, and you guys will be able to kind of add more richness to this. I i could be wrong, but I feel like something cracked open with the publication of Charangi. uh, that's the first truly successful translation in my living memory as a editor in a publishing house. There've been publishers who've been passionately publishing translations, but it's been in small focused kind of lists. First, Priya Darkar did it with Disha and Orient Longman, and then Mini did this series with Macmillan and took it to OUP. And I think Penguin under David was publishing translations, but very much as a part of their own list. But something about Chaurangi, I mean, it really sold, right? And it was published by Gallimard. It was multiple kind of editions in European languages, and I think East Asia, Southeast Asia, all of those. It was the first success, and I think there was serious money made with rights by the author and the publishers. It also sold well. It was critically acclaimed. It was loved. All of that. It could be that kind of created some kind of confidence in publishers. Maybe not something that's explicitly recognized or spoken about, but since then, I think things started opening up, and more and more publishing houses started publishing translations. And then you see more successes, and then it kind of becomes larger and larger. It gathers more momentum. That's one aspect. And the other aspect is, um, are we finally as a people becoming more confident about our literature? Do we want to know more about who we are, what we think, what are the stories that people in all corners of this country tell? I think that's also a reason. These two are, I think, the deeper reasons that have propelled the translations and taken it outside of Sahitya Academy and other state-sponsored kind of institutions, which have done stellar work. At least for a long time, they were the only people who were supporting translations.
So, you have been publishing for nearly 20 years now. And when you look at all the, bird's eye view of all the books that have come into Indian English publishing for Indian languages, how would you rate the overall success of the books in the market? Have they been as successful as the original English was published? Have they been less successful? Are they published more because of a sense of duty to promote Indian languages, or also because they really work well in the market? In comparison with the English originals, how would you rate the translations?
I mean, clearly they haven't been as successful as what's been published in English, but it's not an entirely, I think, fair question, because the kind of support works originally published in English receive is quite different. And the people who are reading in English are, you know, kind of, they are different people from the people for whom books are published in Indian languages. So the stories are different, and therefore
No,
there's
sorry,
also,
and I want to clarify. So, Priya, I want to clarify this. My question is this: that I'm asking you to compare the Indian language books translated into English with the books published originally in English, not published in the Indian languages, but in English. One translated books and other books, other written originally in English. How do they compare in the
I
market?
understand that. I do understand that, and that's what I'm addressing, because what I'm saying is books published in Indian languages are for specific markets. A Malayalam book is for the Malayalam reader, but it's getting translated into English, and it's going to the reader who's already reading books of fiction originally written in English. So there's that kind of tension there, right? And there's that little bit of discomfort there. And in any case, books that are written in English so far, but not really anymore, I think got a lot of marketing spend, got a lot of attention, press attention, and all of that was much more. But now translations are kind of occupying equal space more and more. I think we've seen that in the last 4 or 5 years at least. There's real excitement when there's a new translation that is published. So in that sense, I think it's not a question that we can answer properly at this point. I think that's a question maybe 5 years from now, because right now I don't think there is any, they're not equivalent lists that you can make a comparison.
So when you are selecting a book for translation into English, are you only looking at the possibility of that book selling in the English market, or simultaneously you also look at the possibility of selling those rights to other languages within India and internationally? Is that something you would consider as you select the book?
Increasingly, that became an important thing to look at, whether you can sell rights for this translation. It wasn't when, for instance, when I joined publishing, it was not like that. But increasingly, you're looking at the rights potential for a book and how, so which means partly also how well the story will travel, for sure. Yeah. But well, I mean, there's a little bit of a difference in the sense that, when I worked in Penguin, there was the luxury of actually commissioning for 2 different kinds of classics lists, the modern classics and the black classics, and then looking at the completely contemporary kind of translation. So contemporary, you definitely look at, but not so much the classics, because yeah. But it's something definitely for publishers to think about before they make their pitch, because that is, I think, in the foreground now.
So when you look at the quality,
whether you can sell it.
Yeah. So when you look at a translation of a work, so do you want the translation to be as close as possible to the original, or do you want it to be more accessible to the reader, readable in English? How do you balance between these two, and also being readable and accessible in the English language? How do you take a balance on these two things?
I was quite flexible in that sense. Yeah, I can hear you. No, what I meant was, I personally, when I selected translations, I was pretty flexible. I was open to different kinds of translations, because it's, there aren't that many there weren't that many translators. That again is changing every year. And everyone brings their own kind of, I think, philosophy and intellectual tradition and their own training and all of that to translation. So I was, so I would have to say that I've published translations which hew very closely to the text, and I've published translations which have actually diverged from the text creatively, sometimes structurally, and all of that. But as long as the writer of the original work is fine with the translation, I think it's all right. I don't have a philosophy in that sense of I think this is what the translate good translation is, and that I don't. But I do believe that it should work in English as a text. Sorry, I don't think I've really answered that question. So
I think no, I think that answer is good. It's good. We are increasingly seeing this role of artificial intelligence in translation between languages. So, what do you think the future might be? Would it be possible at some time that the first draft of a work might get translated through artificial intelligence, and then the editor can take a look at it? Is that a possibility? Do you think that thing can do that level?
Neeta's shaking her head like very energetically. I would have said no, it's not possible some years ago. But having moved to Sahapedia and having worked with people um, who work in artificial intelligence and all of that to some extent, in the way we've been doing a whole system of categorization and tagging that has depended on machine learning. So I feel like it's quite possible that we might end up with a first draft that's done by a machine some years from now. It seems to be growing exponentially, so who knows? So I don't know. I think it's actually possible.
So can you tell us about what are the best practices in the Indian English publishing industry regards to compensating the translator for their work? How are the translators paid in terms of royalty, advance, one-time payment?
So I think almost 95% of the books that I worked on and published, it was the royalties were divided equally, and the translator and the writer were paid equally. And I also try to make sure that the translator does get paid some portion for rights sold to other languages, because English is usually the bridge. It's thanks to translation into English that the book moves into other languages. So this is broadly how it is, but I think every now and then you will get a slightly different kind of scenario. If the author is well known and their celebrityhood really makes a difference to the books, to the book being bought by other publishers, then the author either gets more in terms of royalty or gets a much larger advance. So there are also cases where the author gets the full royalty and the translator's is given a one-time payment. But largely, what I've worked on, it's been half and half.
So when you said that we have to compensate the English translator for other language translations, do you think they should be compensated only when the work is done through English, or even otherwise, because they came to be known because of the English translation?
I think the latter, because it's very hard to quantify. Someone can always say, I read your work in the original, I don't know, Marathi, and now I'm translating into German. But the English, I think, does play a part in making the book visible.
Yeah. So Neeta, do you have time for some more questions, or do you want to go into?
I think
open this for the audience.
Yeah, we can. What we can do is maybe we can open it up to the audience, and then you can close it with a last question, which can be like a wrap up question towards the end. I think there's Bhaskar has put in a question.
Yeah.
Pranav has a question too. So I'd like to open it up and to also welcome some of the people who came in between while we were chatting. I think Claudia joined us for a little while ago. So
Hi, Claudia.
yeah, welcome to a lot of people who are here. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to see all our friends here. I'm going to request also somebody like, Jayapriya is here with us. And I'm opening it up, Pranav, if you'd like to ask your question and whatever, however you'd like to take it forward from there.
Sure. Shivapriya, my question was about AV rights. We have now a lot of OTT platforms which are reaching out directly to Indian language publishers and acquiring rights for audiovisual format, and maybe those get made into web series or films which get released on these platforms. Does that become a significant selection parameter for, say, an English language publisher to pick up rights? I mean, does that become like a major pre-qualification criteria for then the rights getting sold and picked up?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, Pranav. So in my, I think 3 years at Juggernaut, I saw that really explode. I think almost every book that I commissioned, was it whether it was crime or translation or fiction originally written in English, they all had either interest, and they were sold in the sense at least people reserved rights
Option
for a
to get.
year, or yeah, so they got it and that made money. But I didn't really see anything actually getting made, and it wasn't at all clear what is it that these platforms are looking for, because they seem to be, their remit seems to be wide. They're picking everything up and they're sort of putting it in a bank, but very few actually translates into making, which maybe in some sense doesn't matter, because at least the writer and the publisher do get money. So I'm not sure whether that's a category, because it's not still clear what is it that OTT platforms actually look for. But it's something that I think lots of publishers are definitely selling. So in that sense, it looks like crime, science fiction, speculative fiction is sort of slowly coming into its own with that. And possibly Jayapriya might have, I think, something to say about it, because I don't know whether all your writers are getting, whether their audiovisual rights are being bought, film and television.
And does that become like an important criteria? So if say when you were an editor who was getting pitches from different publishers, and you got a pitch for, say, a crime fiction which has already been optioned, or maybe even the option has been exercised. So would that become like an important criteria for you to maybe put that above certain other crime fiction that you've been pitched? Would that become like an important selection criteria for you?
I suppose it would, because every crime novel that we publish, almost what came out in print was optioned. Nothing's really come close to being made, but it was optioned, which means jam, right? Like a little bit of sweet money for writers and for publishers.
Okay.
So Vasu, you have a question. Do you want me to ask it, or will you ask? Vasudendra?
I'll ask.
Yeah.
Sure, Praise. A very nice interaction and a very good discussion. Thank you very much for the inputs. The question here is, so when your book is going to get translated and published in English, do you think it's better first to go with the Indian publisher and later on approach the foreign publishers? Or is it better the other way? Like first you get into the foreign publisher, and because of its name and fame, it comes back in India, because I'm seeing those two patterns at the moment. So especially people who are writing originally in English, many of them are publishing it in foreign land than in India. Yeah. So can you just highlight on that?
Um, I've never seen this really play out with translations, where it gets published abroad first and then travels to India. I haven't really seen that. But I would say that if you actually can pitch it abroad to publishers that you actually know, and you know editors who will give it attention, and read it, I would say then you should do it simultaneously. Or maybe even do it the other way around, from Europe or the Anglo-American publishers to India, because well, it is going to make a difference. But I haven't actually seen that though happen, not with translations. But you're completely right. Uh, the really big English books that got published this year actually were published internationally, with India basically not even editing, right? They just buy it and they publish it and they market it. So yeah.
Thank you.
So Himanshu Giri, is he here? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here.
yeah, please go
Hi,
ahead.
thanks, Kanan. I think it was a wonderful interaction, and thanks, Sivapriya, for all the information. I had some suggestions and comment to make, and I really feel that translating, since you were talking about translating poetry or verse, as a children's publisher, from the Pratham Books, and I'm telling you because we've had experience of working in various languages, it really loses its flavor, and that's been kind of our experience with that. And I wanted to suggest that if we were to really build a better sort of a translations ecosystem, we should really have a collaborative approach in terms of building capacities. And I can say so because we've done with Sahitya Academy for sort of a workshop on capacity building in Kannada language for children's literature. So I think that's something we should, if we really want to up the game for translations, I think we should definitely be looking at such kind of collaborative actions. So yeah, I would, these were the two things I just wanted to kind of comment upon.
Thank you, Himanshu. Any questions?
I would like to ask one, if the others do not have any.
Yeah.
So just one question.
Please go ahead, yeah.
Shipriya, you mentioned that Indian translated works being celebrated along with the English original books in abroad is a bit rare. You haven't come across that kind of phenomenal work. But is it the case with the other languages as well? Because the Spanish, or it could be Japanese, or it could be Koreans. So those translations in English are doing equally well compared to the original English books, right?
I can't say about what's happening in, say, European languages, but at least though they have actually a better tradition of publishing translations, but at least in the US, there seems to be a real conscious kind of effort to publish translations, right? To bring in voices from other languages and elsewhere. But even there, I don't think it's necessarily going from Indian languages. It's still a handful of titles that we hear about. There seem to be more, for instance, like I was saying, one of the reasons that I think Kannan and Neeta will probably able to speak to this more, but if I'm not wrong, the government of South Korea really supports, right, South Korean literature, and provides a great ecosystem and capacity building, as Himanshu Giri mentioned, for US and UK publishers to buy Korean literature.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment here. Sorry to interrupt, but I happened to visit the Korean Publishers Education Society, and absolutely they have a wonderful system for the exchange of titles. I mean, and the records and the data, everything is so much in place in Seoul, and we visited the Translation Institute. It's a wonderful place. I mean, I wish if our Mysore Translation Institute was like that.
Can I make a small comment?
Yep. Yeah, please.
So
Please
first of all, it's really nice to be here. And I am a literary agent working out of many countries, and I work across languages, not just Indian languages. But one of the things I find that in other markets, translators have extensive grants to put their sample material together. So it would be nice if in such a good group of people that we really, like one thing I'm really passionate about is name the translator, that every book must equally name the translator, because like Kannan said, it's a very collaborative kind of journey. But the second thing is to get, if the idea is for publishers to sell their books to other countries, we need a good sample to be able to sell the book anywhere else. We need like at least 3 chapters, at least 30, 40 pages. And that is a lot of work for somebody to do. And very often in India, it's unpaid for. It's just a passion project, and the translator gets money if the book goes through. There isn't a culture in India of people putting money down to get that translation done, that sample translation. So it might be great if a group like this put together some kind of a fund to get those starter kits ready. I noticed that somebody said you're going to put a catalog together. It would be great to do like 30, 40 pages to get the book across.
Yeah, may I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Hi, I'm Claudia
please.
from the Frankfurt Book Fair. And I think Angela, my colleague from the German Book Office, is also here. I just wanted to say that I think this is a time where people and also publishers are, especially in Europe, are looking towards a new content that has not been finding a lot of recognition in the past in those markets. I think this is a good time. And as I said also in the chat, I think there could be a lot of ways of cooperating with different organizations, be it, you probably know in Frankfurt Book Fair, we have an organization that's called Litcrom, which promotes literature from Asia, Africa, South America into Germany, but also more and more internationally. So this could be one. And I'm sure because this is a good time and because everybody is looking towards underrepresented languages, if you allow me to use that word for the moment, I think there are also, the cultural institutes, even in India, which I would think would probably also have some ideas and money to put into this, because it really is a good time. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Claudia.
Yeah. So thank you, Claudia. I know I've been coming to Frankfurt since 2007, but it was for the first time last year I got walk-ins from several international publishers who wanted to look at my list and possibly discuss translations. That has not happened much before, but it happened quite a bit last year. So I think you're absolutely right that we are looking at an era where European publishers and they want to balance their list with the complete international outlook and make sure that all kind of books are there.
Diversity.
I think that is she's right.
Inclusion are the words of the
Dilip, you have a
day.
question? Yeah. Right. Dilip, you have a question for Supriya? Dilip? Okay.
I think it's put
So
it.
I will then ask one more question to Shopri.
I'll also ask one
Yeah,
more question, Kannan, if you can allow me.
Yeah.
The question is, what is the role of literary agents in this getting the translation work? Approach the publishers, the English publishers, the response are generally weak. They don't respond back immediately. But when we go through the agent, the response comes quite quick. So is there anything here? So what it works, whether to go through an agent or not to go through an agent? So can you just throw some light on that?
I would suggest if possible, go through an agent, because they know how publishing works. They know how to negotiate a deal. And because the editor in the publishing house knows the agent, and the agent kind of tends to know, at least most of the editors, Jayapriya, for instance, would know who will buy fiction and who will buy non-fiction and what kinds of fiction and all of that. I think it really helps. So editors tend to trust agents to know their own taste, and they believe that the pitch that's being made will be right for them. So if possible, I would suggest go with an agent. Or unless you know editors in publishing houses, you have a pretty good grasp of what they publish, what their interests are, all of that, which might be quite possible. I think Kannan's also, in a sense, a literary agent as much as he's a publisher. So that's a model too.
Okay, thank you.
So, Shubhriya, you worked with Penguin for many years, and there are many multinational companies in India right now. And that is a Penguin UK, Penguin USA, Penguin Australia. Are there any structured events within these companies where you get to sell rights to one another among the various companies?
No.
Do they buy rights from Penguin India? Do you buy rights from Penguin Australia?
It does happen, but not very much. For instance, I think it's usually the sales head who tends to know their counterpart in these other places, and that's how some of the books travel. I think I got to meet people from Penguin UK and Penguin US. I think literally like 2 years before I left Penguin at the Israel Book Fair. So it really depends. And then of course you meet them if you go to the book fair, then otherwise at the London Book Fair, there you make certain contacts. So again, it actually, you have to know the editor who will buy the right book. So it does.
Okay. So any other questions? And how much time do we have?
We have 5 minutes before we can, start making our closing comments. So maybe we can, if there are people on this panel who'd like to be in touch with or join this group, they can just leave their email IDs and contacts with us or write to us at our, email that I've shared. And I think if there's anybody who would like to make a comment or ask a question, if there's something that's left out.
So one more question is, Shubhriya, in these days, as you said, there is a lot more interest in translating from English. So don't you think it will help if there are more bilingual editors in the Indian English publishing industry who can also work between English and one or more than one Indian languages?
Yes, for sure. That's a simple question. I mean, it's very simple for me to answer that. It definitely will help.
The question is that I just want to know that. Yeah, but is it consciously encouraged? That is the next question.
I don't think so.
I
have to say that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've seen that it's the Bengali editors who tend to be able to read Bengali and English, and I think among the Tamil knowing editors, it used to be just me, and now I think Janani can read to some extent. So it's really you rarely see editors who are from North India being able to read both Hindi, as in literary Hindi, and English. A little rare, but yeah. But it's not
because,
something
if that happens, then there'll be less need to go through.
But no, I mean, of course, actually, that's not true. There's Rahul, who both translates from English from Hindi into English, and
Rahul Soni, yeah.
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 So maybe you are seeing a few more of these bilingual editors.
Of these people. Yeah.
So I just wanted to add to as a.
So can you tell us about? Yeah, please, yeah.
No, Kannan, go ahead.
No, please. It's the last question. I can ask later.
Yeah. No, my concern, my suggestion again, and the submission was that, given the kind of demographic stats in India and the huge diversity we have, and to be leveraging that, I mean, we are a country with almost 700 plus living languages. We at Pratham Books have been working with almost 70% of the indigenous languages of the world. So, helping revive those languages. So I think it's very important for us to really take next steps to see, that how can we really save languages. And since we're talking about translations and things, and I happened to read an old article of Economist, I remember, that by the end of this century, about 70% of the languages are going to, go off the shelf. And the Asia Pacific region is going to be at the biggest loss of this just because of the diversity. So I think all of us need to really learn to leverage the population and the numbers and things like that. And India is a huge economy to leverage that way, and the languages to work on. Despite, we happen to work in about 30 plus African languages and many of the Latin American and, so to say, the global South languages of the world. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. The universe is so big. We can't even imagine. And all of us as publishers have opportunity windows there. And how do we want to take it up is up to us. That's about it. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
So, Karthikeyan, you have a question?
I think it was Vidya Srinivasan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have time for just one?
Yeah, Karthikeyan has posted a question in the chat box.
Yeah, it was about illustrated books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people offering rights for the illustrations. So, how do people go about illustrations? They adapt it according to the regional specifics, or they get the rights for the illustrations and translate it, or can it be a combined effort that multiple regional language publishers come together and procure the rights for the illustration and print together? Is there a possibility like that within the Indian languages, or with the foreign languages? Anything?
Sorry, I've not really
so
worked with. Yeah, maybe Kannan, you should answer that.
Yeah, it has happened a few times. I think with the book that that Anand published, he got it printed. He sold rights to many Indian languages, and then he got it all printed together and then gave it to all the languages. So that has happened a few times before. You can come and propose this in another meeting in the group, and other publishers here might also be interested in making a joint effort. Thank you, Karthikeyan. And so, Supriya, as the last question, can you? Please. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Vidya
Vidya. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Vidya. I'm currently teaching English. I'm also a poet and translator, translating from Tamil to English. I do not know if this is the right platform to be asking this question, but do you have any advice for an aspiring translator and writer? This seems to be, I'm really not very familiar with the industry at all. So is there anything that you could point me towards?
I think first thing, get an agent.
Okay.
That would really help. Because if you are so new, then I think it's good to align yourself with someone who actually knows the ins and outs of the industry.
Okay.
And that's the most important bit of advice.
All right.
So Vidya, we have a very good agent here with us, Jayapriya Vasdeva. Maybe you can email her.
Sure, please. I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the same, Kannan. So why can't we see Shivpriya to help us in all these dealings?
Yeah, Jayapriya.
Make her an agent for Publishers Exchange. So that's a good session, actually.
Let's have a meeting separately with Jayapriya. We need to do one meeting with.
Yeah.
I think it would be useful. Yeah.
So we already planned a meeting with Jaya. I think this will probably
It's one of the
whenever she has time.
On the cup. Yeah. So we have to do that. I have to sit with her and understand how we structure.
So I just have one more. Just one more question for Priya from me. If anybody else has a question, they can follow this. Can you share some of the successful acquisitions you made on translations you made from Indian languages to English? Your favorites and what sold well in the market? Which books got you critical acclaim among the books that you commissioned from Indian languages to English as translations?
She can also include not only commissioned by her, overall, like what is that we are seeing, we consider as successful books as well?
You know, like I mentioned, I think the first breakout success in my memory, there may have been some before, but I don't think it was in my time in publishing, was Shankar's Chaurangi. It really took off. I think it was just like a great story, very well told, gripping. If you start reading it, you thoroughly enjoy it, and it's also sentimental, all of that. And then it went on to sell in quite a few European languages, from what I know. And then after that, I think the big success, which sold across both Indian languages and internationally, is Gachar Gochar. I don't think I'm missing anything in between. There were occasional books that sold in particular languages, but these are the two that were, I think, really huge in terms of getting rights sales and also selling well themselves within India. I think of the books that I've published that have been successful, I think Goat Days, Benjamin's Goat Days. It was, I remember that I got 2 chapters very early on, and it hadn't really become, or it was on its way to becoming a classic in Malayalam, but it hadn't really become that huge. That I remember. And then I think I took a bit of time because you could see that this is kind of extraordinary. Around the time we published, by the time we published, I think it had sold over 100,000 copies in Malayalam. Then it's since gone on to do well. And I think there's a very glamorous kind of film that's in the making that's actually being shot in COVID times. And I have to say, like, when we published One Part Woman, it was purely out of love for the story. None of us expected it really to take off, and it actually did not. The hardback did reasonably well. It got critically good reviews and all of that. And then we published the paperback, and suddenly this controversy happened, and it became a bestseller. So there's that. I have to say, of my favorites that I've published, a lot of them tend to be what went into Black Classics. For instance, a collection of poems by the Kashmiri poet Ghani, also known as Ghani Kashmiri. And I love the poems that I published that were translated by Tangappa, Love Stands Alone. So though it may not actually pay to publish poetry, I think in the end, you'll find editors, the books that are closest to their hearts are actually these kind of books.
There was another one which we'd worked on.
So, Nita, any closing remarks?
I think thank you, Kannan, for that lovely conversation. And thank you, Shivapriya, for sharing such lovely, I mean, the kind of experience you've had is really, it starts and it goes back. The 2 decades of experience is something which is so rich. And thank you for sharing it with all of us so generously. And thank you for all the friends for joining us today. Pranav, Sunil, I mean, we're all here together to understand, to take forward. And like Claudia said, I mean, one of the aims of this forum is to find those voices and give them an outreach beyond their own languages and also internationally to other languages, other cultures, other literatures. So thank you, all of you, for being here. I mean, individually, I'm sure I'll be in touch with many of you to, get ideas on what are the sessions we need to have. With the last few months went in preparing for Frankfurt and getting things ready, and but now we have a little more time to look at what we learned from all the things that we've been doing, this trying to cope with the pandemic, trying to cope with the difficult situations in the markets here. So I think let's look at also some exciting creative things like translations lists, building on it. So with that, I think we can say, until we meet again.